Okay. Let me just make a note here. Ready? Okay. All right, I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Board of Adjustment to order. Will staff please do roll call?
Board Member Leffel.
Present.
Board Member Frey Waite.
Present.
Board Member and Chair Hernandez.
Present?
Board Member Douglas.
Present.
Chair, you have quorum.
Great, thank you. Okay, will you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Chair, we just have some reminders for the folks visiting virtually.
When you are speaking, please be sure to unmute your microphone to be heard on the broadcast. The public who did not register in advance can watch the live broadcast on the city's YouTube channel. For live Spanish translation services, please dial 720-386-9023 and use code 104091 *.
Thank you. All right, per the Board of Adjustment bylaws, an election of chair and vice chair shall be held at the first meeting of the year. We will now need to vote upon chair for the Board of Adjustment. If anyone is interested, please nominate themselves. Okay, I'll nominate myself for chair. Do we have any others nominated? We're good? Okay. All right. Can I have a motion appointing the chair?
Make a motion to appoint Joanne Hernandez as chair of the Zoning Board of Adjustment.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. We have a motion by Board Member Frey White and second by Board Member LaFell. Please open the electronic voting. Okay, we have 4 yeses. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, we'll now need to vote upon a vice chair for the Board of Adjustment. If anyone is interested, please nominate themselves.
I'd like to nominate myself as vice chair.
Thank you. Any others? All right. Okay, can I have a motion appointing the vice chair?
I would second that motion.
Can we get a motion? Did we get a motion?
Probably
You motion?
not.
I think we need a motion to appoint Commissioner Frey Waite as the vice chair before we have a second and then a vote.
I make a motion to appoint him vice chair.
I'll second that.
Great. We have a motion by Board Member LaFell and a second by Mayor Douglas. Please open the electronic voting.
Commissioner Leffel, can you please cast your vote?
Thought I did.
Great. We got 4 yeses. Motion passes. Thank you. Congratulations. Okay. And we'll go ahead and move on. Can I get a motion to approve the September 9th, 2025 meeting minutes? And a second.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. We have a motion by Board Member Fry-White and a second by Board Member LaFell. Please open the electronic voting.
Okay, I pushed the button this time.
Mayor Douglas, can you cast your vote, please?
I have to recuse myself. I was not on the board to approve these minutes. So it's just going to be the three.
Since we don't have a quorum. He can, oh, okay, you can approve with three? Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Okay, we've got 2 yeses, 2 not voted. Can we go ahead and,
Sorry, we're going to have to recast that. Yeah, we didn't get Commissioner Leffels, or sorry, Board Chair Leffels.
Bring it up again.
thank you. We've got 3 yeses. Motion passes. Okay, moving on, regarding case AV 25-0006, Yesco Oneida LLC sign height variance. I will open the public hearing on this case. As a reminder, the board staff will present, followed by the applicant. At the conclusion of both of those presentations, I will open the floor for any questions from the board. Once all questions have been asked, the public will have their turn to speak on the case. We will start with members of the public attending in person before moving on to those attending virtually. With that, I will ask Planner Nathan Chavez to please announce this case and introduce the applicant.
AV 25-0006, Yesco, on behalf of the property owner, Oneida LLC, is seeking variance approval to increase the maximum height allowance for a proposed freestanding sign along I-270 from 10 feet to 35 feet in height, a 25-foot increase. The 3.81-acre property is located at 5200 Oneida Street and is zoned I-1 Light Intensity Industrial. Here for the application is Sheldon Marshall and Michelle Krajewski from Yesco, as well as the property owner, Owen Orr.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Good evening, board members. Thank you for your time tonight. My name is Owen Orr. I'm with Oneida LLC, the owner of the subject property at 5200 Oneida. We are long-standing and long-term owners and managers of commercial properties up and down the Front Range. We've owned this property since 2011, actually, and it only took 15 years, but we got it done and built the great project behind you, the 5200 Oneida Commercial Flex Project. This project is somewhat unique, both in what the building is and will provide to the community and in the unique situation of this site. There have not been many small format flex projects built in the last 20 years in all of Denver, let alone in Commerce City. We incorporated this site into the city because we wanted to be a part of this community, and we are so excited now that the project is on its last steps to be able to open up the project to tenants and offer it to small businesses and offer a great place where they can make a living, be wildly successful. We strive to create places where companies and individuals can be empowered, create jobs, and provide services to their neighbors and friends. We know from our experience that it is critical for all stakeholders of businesses to be able to identify and navigate their physical locations. Our first adjustment tonight, as Nathan went through, is simply extending the height of our pylon sign in front of the project. This site is oriented immediately west of the TA truck stop on Highway 270 As you come off of 70 onto 270, go past Northfield, the road winds towards the northwest, and you pass the TA truck stop and then this project immediately west of it. TA's sign is 45 feet tall and features 10-inch signage. Then as you complete your onboarding onto 270, you go past the proposed sign here. What we're proposing is only 35 feet high and will only be a pylon sign with the address of the project purely for project identification. We think that's reasonable as this is 10 feet shorter than the immediately preceding sign and also much narrower and not featuring any tenant signage. All tenant signage on the building is per code. There are some unique challenges with this site, given the topography of the surrounding area. Not only is it a far distance from 270 to the project, but there's also a significant elevation difference from 270. This project really sits in a hole, and there was nothing we could do about that because of the height of storm drainage and other things that are far above my head. But we explored it, and this is the best we could do. So the height variance is simply to allow for that visibility to the passerby and promote project identification. The second item, which I'm sure Nathan will go through next on your agenda, is, as I understand it, more of a technicality even, just allowing a second freestanding sign.
So the second case is a separate hearing, and so if we can just talk about this case so we don't get confused.
Okay.
That'd be very helpful, thank you.
Perfect, yep. Yeah, so on this first one, I think it's really a matter of the unique aspects of the location of the project and the access. This is not a get off the off-ramp and turn right into the Walmart parking lot situation. There is no front entrance to this project bordering 270. So knowing what the address is critical to be able to get there. And once you put that in, it's a maze. And we can show you the map we have prepared of the two ways you arrive at the project. No matter what way you get to the project, there is only one approach. And when you approach, there are two separate entrances. So our proposal, I think is reasonable. We've worked with staff to maintain a high design and construction quality consistent with the project, appropriate to overcome the non-self-imposed hardships of the surrounding topography and infrastructure surrounding the site, and respectful of the adjacent uses. And we can't wait to welcome new jobs to the city of Commerce City with this incredibly exciting project. With that, I'll turn it over to Yesko, our consultant, to go into more detail.
So just to continue, I'm Sheldon Marshall, by the way, Yesko Custom Signs. We help put the variance package together on behalf of Oneida for Fred and Owen here. And just to add to Owen's comments a little bit, sign A in this variance applicant is primarily not a sign almost, it's almost an architectural feature with the address on it. It's so important for us that once these tenants are identified through their wall signs, that if a tenant or a potential customer sees the address, sees the tenant sign, then they can Google on how to get to the location to do business with that particular company. So I thought it would help a little bit to go over the original documents. There's the site plan, circled in red is where this sign will be going in front of the building, facing 270 right there. This sign here, when we go over the original flagging, what I want to bring to attention is the blue area. That blue area is 4 feet wide, and it has 2 feet large numbers in the letters that read 5200 Oneida. That is 2 feet tall, if you will, and 4 feet wide. The structure, the blue structure itself is 22 feet 6 inches. in height. And the reason I bring that up is on the next slide here, this white area with the black numbers on it is exactly the size of that blue area that we just saw on the design packet. Those are 2-inch letters at 5,200 in numbers, and a 4-inch panel that is the white area. So if you can imagine that sign there, this is the panel. This is at the 35-foot tall height. It's about right to the left of it is the CDOT fence there, and this sign will sit above that sign, maybe about 6 feet at the 35 feet. Now, in our planning meeting that we had with Nathan and a couple of the other city planners, they asked us to look at a 30-foot tall sign. And the 30-foot tall sign will work just as well as a 35-foot tall sign heading west towards the mountains. Where it doesn't work is heading east towards I-70 or to I-70. And there at the 30-foot level, we see that low-profile vehicles pretty much take out the IDA of Oneida, and it's virtually unseen. And this is a busy highway, so there's rarely times where you will have a clean shot at it, looking at the sign or looking at the address. So with that, Nathan, if you can go ahead and blow up that bottom right. Right there, the bottom of the blue panel would sit right about fence level. And at that level there, if we kind of draw a line straight over to the highway, we see that we're barely above grade there right before the highway. I don't know if you can highlight that with your marker. Yeah, not just kind of draw over. You kind of see right where it runs into the ground there for visibility. Now imagine that level going eastbound. So at the 35-foot tall level, which is the next page here, excuse me. Yep, 35-foot tall, thanks. So we know with high-profile vehicles that really it's going to obscure even 30 or 35 feet. What we're trying to capture is the normal traffic at the 35 feet level. If we can blow up the upper right corner, we'll see again there that this sits above, whoops, go back one page there, Nathan. You know what, too far, there we go. That'll sit about 5 feet above fence level there and has a better line if you were to draw that line towards the highway at being at pavement level with 270. And then you can kind of see it on this one as well, on the left one there. Now, if we go down to the bottom area, yeah, I think that works. If we can blow that up just a little more, we can get most of the sign read, even with low-profile vehicles, of the address. Now, there is a photo, Nate, up one and to the left, I think it is, that we can see like the semi-truck there would obscure it, or the dump truck there would obscure it. We understand that. But to give us our best shot at capturing eastbound traffic, we really feel that the 35-foot is needed to get for the majority of the cars. Now, I drive this highway to work and from work every day, and I know there's a lot of semis, but there's also an opportunity for this sign to be viewed by regular low-profile cars that can see all of the address as well as see the tenant names on the wall, and they can figure out how to get there from there. So, and at the bottom page again, if you guys want the very last page, Nathan, if you want to kind of have a visual of how tall this sign would be, we did a side-by-side comparison with the TA sign. Adobe Illustrator, I tell you. Perfect. So you kind of, everybody knows that sign there. It's a very popular sign, the TA sign. We come up to about the top of the Oasis at the 35-foot level. And it's a lot thinner. And again, it's not a multi-tenant sign. This is just an address sign. So it can be project identifying to the Oneida building and their tenants. Thank you.
And I just wanted to make a quick point of order for the record. For our order of the sequence of public hearings, per our bylaws, just for the public to know, traditionally, we do have the staff do a presentation, then the applicant do their presentation. So in case anyone's following along and is a nerd like me, I just want to let you know that this first one is a little backwards. But for the record, I wanted to let that be known.
Good evening, Chair, Mr. Mayor, board members. I apologize for the order of the presentation. I had city council 2 weeks ago, and it's the other way around. Sometimes you just forget. I hope you all had a great New Year's Eve. So as stated during the introduction of the case, the applicant is seeking a variance to increase the maximum freestanding sign height from 10 feet tall to 35 feet tall for a sign along I-270. The I-1 Light Intensity Industrial Zone site is surrounded by other industrial zoning districts, and there are 2 other applications under review for this site. A variance, which will be heard next, AV 25-0007, and then a comprehensive sign program or design standards application. So currently a 58,412 square foot industrial flex building is under construction on the 3.81 acre site, which is outlined in red on the screen. While much of the area is industrial or commercial in nature, there are 6 residences directly to the west of the site across Oneida, where my cursor is currently hovering over. And then of note is that the site fronts I-270 and sits 8 feet 6 inches below the interstate. And then in my staff report, I wrote 9 inches, but that was a mistake, and I don't know where the 9 came from, but it's 8 feet 6 inches below grade, the I-270 grade. So per the Land Development Code, a site between 2 to 10 acres in size and along I-270 is allowed a 10-foot tall freestanding sign. This allowance would permit a sign that is only 1 foot 6 inches above the I-270 grade. And then the applicant is proposing a 35-foot tall sign for the primary purpose of increased visibility to the I-270 motorists. So this is a site plan of the site. I-270 is on the south side. And then the subject sign is right where my cursor is at. And then this is an image provided by the applicants. It shows that the I-270 center line is about 155 feet from the site. And then it's roughly 102 feet from the start, or I guess the end of I-270 to the site. And I'm not including the setback, the 7 feet 6 inches in that setback. So it's a little further if you include that setback. And so as of today, staff has not received any written comments or phone calls or emails regarding this applications from the public. And then staff determined that the application meets the approval criteria from section 21-3222.3 of the Land Development Code. Specifically, the subject site sits 8 feet 6 inches below the I-270 grade and is over 102 feet from I-270 or 155 feet from the center line. In addition, the Land Development Code does not fully consider the heights needed for signs along highways and is generally tailored to local, collector, and arterial roadways. In addition, strict enforcement of the standards would allow for a freestanding sign that's only 1 foot 6 inches above the I-270 grade, which will not be legible to motorists on I-270. And so the difference in grade also creates this hardship, as well as the distance from I-270 to the site, not including the setbacks. And then to the east is the Travel Centers for America gas station and parking lot, and across I-270 to the south is Sand Creek, and then a truck dealership, both of which are similar industrial uses, which will not be affected by a taller sign. And then to the northwest is a pocket of residential, with the nearest home being 384 feet from the subject sign. Because of the existing and proposed landscaping and distance between the residential and the subject sign, staff found that there will be no substantial detriment to the adjacent property. And then while the property owner could opt for no freestanding signage along the interstate, it's unreasonable to expect this of the property owner. The site is allowed freestanding signage, and it is a reasonable request to properly advertise the development to motorists, period. In addition, the proposed height is needed for proper visibility of the sign as depicted in the applicant's packet material. And then stated earlier, there are existing freestanding signs along the I-270 corridor that are of similar height or taller, including the Travel Centers for America sign at 45 plus feet, the Masick Golf Cars sign at 28 plus feet, the Denver Truck and Trailer and the Park Industrial Center signs. I could not find the height of those signs, but they are quite tall. And I can pull those up on Google Map if the board would like to see those signs. And then lastly, in 3 different maps within the 2045 comprehensive plan, the general area is designated for business and employment, meaning the character area, the character of the area is planned for similar uses and development. This includes the character area's land use map, which the area is the Fusion District South Rose Hill, which is meant for office, industrial, and warehousing and distribution and logistic businesses as a primary land use. The Economic Development Framework map, which designates the area as business and employment parks, and then to the east is commercial reinvestment, all of which are industrial and commercial uses. And then within the I-270 connected corridor map, the area is designated as business and employment, with commercial just to the east, where my cursor is. And so the character of the area is meant for industrial and commercial, and it's been trending that way for quite some time now. And the 2045 comprehensive plan solidifies that place type, if you will. Staff recommends the Board of Adjustment approve AV 25-0006 based on the findings that the application meets the approval criteria of the Land Development Code. Thank you for your time, and both staff and the applicant are available to answer any questions you all may have.
Great. Thank you for the presentations, Mr. Chavez. Are there any questions for staff from the board? Yes, Board Member Fry-Waite.
In your packet, in your report, I have a couple questions. You noted a number of properties that have similar signs that are the height, and I'm curious if they received variances for theirs. So that's my first question.
Yeah,
You had Travel Centers for America, Masick Golf Cars, Denver Truck and Trailer, and Park Industrial Center that you noted, and I was curious if they had received variances for a similar.
Staff does not have that answer at this point in time. Of the 4 signs, the oldest sign is, I believe, from the 70s, the late 70s, and the earliest one is from, I think, 2016. And staff would just need to do quite a bit of research to understand what the approvals were for all those signs.
It could be, Heather Vidluck, Planning Manager, could be that those other signs were approved under a different sign code. I know we've recently changed our sign code and made it more stringent, and so it could be that they were approved under different sign code regulations.
You walked right into my second question. So, as the city just adopted a new land development code, for this particular area, is it now stricter, and that is why the applicant is now here? Or was this our requirement prior to the land development code changes?
This was, the current variance under consideration tonight stems from the 2009 Land Development Code and not the recently approved new zoning code that was approved in November, I believe. So it's the 09 code that we're under consideration tonight.
But the sign code was modified within the last several years. And so and the sign code stayed pretty much the same between the 2009 code and the 2025 code. So it's not that the sign code regulations changed that much between
Just a free speech
with the
changes.
adoption of the new code in November, but within the last several years, to become constitutionally compliant, we adopted a new sign code.
Okay. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions from the board? No questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Douglas?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. And this is a question for the applicant. Since the TA sign is further to the east, of course, on their property, why have the sign close to 270, but maybe, is there any other options you could put the sign?
Oh, sorry. Per the understanding of code, the sign has to be on the property.
Okay,
And so that, where the sign is currently listed, you can see the property line around it. It meets the setback from that, the CDOT fence is the property line, and the sign will fit 7 feet 6 inches. Above that CDOT area, you're not allowed to have any kind of sign there, if that's what you were referencing. So to keep the sign on the property, we feel that is the best location.
okay. No, I appreciate it. I meant on the property. I didn't mean
Oh, okay.
on CDOT's right away. And then with the potential of 270 being expanded, they're going to have sound walls there. Did you take that into consideration?
Yes, I had a conversation with Fred. He did talk to CDOT and went over what those plans were. That was a couple of years back, he mentioned, but he didn't feel that would be a hindrance to the sign.
Okay, all right, because you don't want to come back here and ask for a 60-foot sign.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Thank you, I'm just kidding. All right, appreciate that.
I do have a clarification for our record, for Mayor Douglas's comment about an impact on the street. Can staff please clarify that for the rest of the board, because that is not information that is provided to the rest of us.
Board member, you're referencing the sound walls, correct?
Because that's a question that we're not privy to, and so I want to make sure it's fair for my fellow board members that they have that information under consideration.
Of course. It sounds like there are some expansion for I-270 and sound barriers. I'm also not privy to that information, and it was news to me as well. But yeah.
Does the board have any other questions for the applicant? No additional ones? Any questions? No? Okay, great. Okay, do any members of the public wish to provide comments on this case? Appears no questions or comments from the public. Is there anyone attending virtually tonight that wishes to speak?
No, Chair.
None? Okay, great, thank you. All right. Does the applicant wish to respond to any public testimony? There was none, so we'll just go ahead and move on from that one. Okay. At this time, I will now close the public hearing for this case. Is there any discussion from the board?
Just before the discussion starts, I just want to make a point of procedure for the board. So under state law, to approve a variance, it requires the concurring vote of 4 members. So to approve a variance tonight would require the unanimous support of the 4 board members in attendance. I just wanted to make you aware of that approval requirement.
Thank you. Okay. Can I get a motion for this case?
Do you want to discuss first, or?
Oh, yeah, did you have any discussion? Would you like to discuss this?
I can make a motion, and then we can discuss the motion. I move that the Board of Adjustment enter a finding that the requested variance for the property located at 5200 Oneida Street contained in case AB 25-06 meets the criteria of the Land Development Code, and based on such finding, approve the variance.
Can I get a second?
So move.
Thank you. Okay. Any discussion, board?
I did want to mention, just for the record, I do agree with the staff's recommendation on the criteria itself, and particularly the hardship due to the topography of the road versus the property level of where the sign is. It does make sense, and I do believe it meets that hardship requirement, and is why I recommended the approval.
And just for the record, we do have a motion by Board Member Fry-White and a second by Mayor Douglas. So with that discussion, is there any further discussion at the board? Any further discussion, Jean? Good. All right, we'll go ahead and move on. If we could please open the electronic voting. So we do have a unanimous vote, so the motion passes. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to case AV 25-007, Gesco Oneida LLC sign variance. I will open the public hearing on this case. At the conclusion of both staff and applicant presentations, I will open the floor for any questions from the board. Once all questions have been asked, the public will have time for public comment. We will start with members of the public attending in person before moving on to those attending virtually. With that, I will ask Planner Nathan Chavez to please announce the case and introduce the applicant.
In case AV 25-0007, Yesco, on behalf of the property owner, Oneida LLC, is seeking variance approval to increase the number of freestanding signs allowed on the site from 1 to 2. The 3.81 acre property is located at 5200 Oneida Street and is zoned I-1 light intensity industrial. And here on behalf of the application is Sheldon Marshall and Michelle Krajewski from Yesco, and then Owen Orff, the property owner. And I will start with my presentation first. So as stated during the opening of the case, the applicant is seeking a variance to increase the number of allowed freestanding signs from 1 to 2. The I-1 light intensity industrial site is surrounded by other industrial zoning districts, and then there are 2 applications under review: the comprehensive sign program / design standards, and then a variance which was just approved by this board a few minutes ago. So there is currently a 58,000 plus square foot industrial flex building under construction for the site, which is outlined in red. And then much of the area is industrial or commercial, save 6 residences to the west across Oneida Street. And then the site fronts I-270 with the primary access actually coming from East 52nd Place and Oneida Street, where the cursor is. So of the 2 freestanding signs proposed, the first is the freeway sign, which is just along I-270 where my cursor is. And it is 35 feet tall, proposed 35 feet tall, about 90 square feet large. And then the second sign, which this body is seeing for the first time tonight, is a joint tenant ID sign. It is located at the northwest corner of the site at the intersection of Oneida and East 52nd Place, where my cursor is. And then this subject sign is 12 feet tall and roughly 72.5 square feet. Actually, it's about, 85 square feet. And for clarification, the reason this sign is proposed at 12 feet is because there is an approved minor modification to increase this sign by 25%, which goes from 10 to 12 feet. And the reason that was not applied to the larger freeway sign is because it's staff's policy not to stack a minor modification approval, which is an administrative approval, with a variance approval. So the base for the freestanding sign, the freeway sign, was 10 feet, and this one has the potential of being 12 feet tall because of the administrative approval that occurred last month. So as of today, staff has received no written comments, emails, or phone calls regarding this application. And then staff determined that the application meets the approval criteria from section 21-3222.3 of the LDC. Specifically, the site is located between three street frontages with access only coming from Oneida and East 52nd Place. In addition, the building is angled towards I-270 with the side facing the primary intersection where they receive access, 52nd and Oneida. And so because there is no access to I-270, it's important to have signage on the primary street frontage, or at least the street frontage with access, which is why those 2 signs are needed. And then although the subject site has visibility from I-270, to access the site, one must exit the interstate and then travel through the city to locate the site. In addition, the LDC does not contemplate properties that front interstates, but do not have access from the interstate. So an additional freestanding sign is needed for motorists seeking the site location. Directly to the west are single-family residences, and while the proposed sign is only 60 feet from a single-family home, it is angled away from the residence and will at most be externally illuminated, There's no internal illumination, which causes glare outward. It's either externally illuminated, meaning there will be a light facing toward the sign, or the sign will not be illuminated. The applicant has yet to decide which direction they'd like to go for that, but that will be determined at the sign permit process. And in addition, there are some trees on the neighboring property screening the home from any potential glare. And lastly, the character of the area is planned for similar uses and needs proper advertising for the future businesses and development. Specifically, the 2045 Comprehensive Plan designates a general area for business and employment through lighter industrial and commercial land uses. This is specifically evident through the character area land use map, which designates the site and the surrounding sites as the Fusion District South Rose Hill, which is meant for distribution, logistics, warehousing, office, and industrial. Within the Economic Development Framework map, the site and surrounding sites are designated as business and employment parks or commercial reinvestment, meaning there will be industrial and commercial uses planned for the site or already existing there. And then lastly, the I-270 connected corridor designates the site as business and employment. And then just to the east, the red is a commercial reinvestment, commercial designation. And so all three of these maps, or three maps within the 2045 Comprehensive Plan, designate the site or sites for business, commercial, for the site, and then the surrounding site. And so staff recommends the Board of Adjustment approve AV 25-0007 based on the findings that the application meets the approval criteria of the LDC. Thank you for your time, and I'll now call up the applicant to present.
Can I ask questions before we get to that?
Yeah, if you can hold up just a quick second, if there's questions from the board for staff.
Thank you. I have a question, Mr. Chavez. So, reading your report, on your criteria, the first criteria of Section A, physical character of the property, including dimensions, topography, or other extraordinary conditions or condition of the property. I'm reading your analysis here that you have, and I was wondering if you can go into a little bit more detail and clarify how a second sign is warranted and doesn't, where a strict enforcement of our code creates a problem, because I'm having a hard time there.
Yeah, of course.
Your analysis.
So I don't have this map in my presentation, but the applicant provided, at least it's in their application material, a map that shows from I-270 how one would access the site, and it involves getting off the interstate either on to the east or west, and then meandering through Commerce City to find East 52nd Place and Oneida, which are not heavily trafficked streets and can be quite hard to get to. And so that, coupled with the fact that the building fronts I-270, it's parallel with it, which is a land development code requirement. The side of the building faces directly towards the interstate, and any drivers driving to the site would see the side of the building where there is not signage planned to properly advertise motorists coming to the site off of East 52nd Avenue. And the only way to access the site is off East 52nd Place, and you can't just jump on Quebec and then take a left through the TA Travel Centers of America site. You have to meander all the way through down North Sand Creek to East 52nd Place.
So, just so I'm understanding, a person cannot find this place, but the sign's on the left of the site, not where people are coming. You're saying people from Quebec can't see the sign, even though it's on the left side and obscured?
Correct. From Quebec Street, there's no way to see the proposed the sign proposed at the northwest intersection. The only way to see that site see that sign is to be driving down East 52nd Place in order to see the proposed sign.
Okay. And then, sorry, if anyone else had a question. No? Okay. Okay. Ed?
Did you have another one?
I did. I want to be fair to everyone. And then for, oh, dang it, I lost it. I lost my question. I hope it comes back to me. Thank you.
With no further questions from the board, we'll go ahead and ask the applicant to speak.
Thank you. Thank you, Nathan, for that presentation. Just to clarify, if you can go back to the aerial real quick that you had out of your presentation. So there's only two ways to get to this site. Either if you're heading westbound, you have to take Vasquez and then work your way back to Sand Creek. And then that will lead you into 52nd Avenue, right where we have the requested variance for the multi-tenant sign there. If you take Quebec, you have to come down to the main intersection, come back this way, and then I can't remember the street that's north and south, but it's right after Sand Creek Drive and before East 52nd Avenue. You come up there southbound, then head east again to Oneida Street, and that's why that sign is tilted at that location to catch traffic. You can't access the 52nd Place from any other location to where you would see the back of that sign. So all drivers will see the front of that sign angled at that intersection. If you can go to our presentation. And just to add a little bit, that's where the sign will be. That sign right there, that's the variance notice sign, but it's also sitting right on property line. And for us to meet code, we will set the sign back, and I'll talk about this a little bit at another slide, 7 feet 6 from that sign. So it will be back a little farther from the intersection. As you can see, the back side of there is where all the receiving dock doors are, and then the front side would be facing 270, and that's where the tenant wall signage would be, but not visible from this view or this location. Again, there's the sign. Nathan, if you could shift Control plus or rotate. Sorry about that. I couldn't get them on the slides to all go the same way. North. Okay, all right, that's fine. And so that's the angle where the sign will be on the site plan, and you can see where 270 is from there. It's quite a bit of ways and not visible from 270. The sign. We actually revised this sign from Nathan's presentation just a little bit. There's also a CSP that will be involved in this property, and we had city comments, and we took those city comments into consideration when we revised this design. But the design serves 3 main functions. Nathan, can you try just Shift Control plus? There you go. Thank you. This sign has 3 main objections. The first one is, of course, is 52 Oneida. Now that they see the 35-foot tall sign, they have the address. Now they Googled it. They know how to get to that location. It identifies that they are at the right location, 5200 Oneida. There's 14 tenant panels, 1 for each tenant in the building, and now they know that whoever they were looking for is at this facility. Knowing that you could only see the back dock doors from the previous photo there, it's important that the potential client of the tenant can see that they are in that plaza. And then secondly, deliveries and main entrance is very important. Let me go back up. So on the site plan here, on 52nd Avenue, Nathan, if you could highlight the delivery entrance only, that road in, that allows us to bring in semis, and if they have deliveries, they can have the extra parking lot area on both areas. If you can kind of highlight those long lines right there, yes, for semi trucks. If they decide, and then just a little north, there you go, right there. And that allows them to turn around and do their deliveries and come back out to the 52nd Avenue. If they happen to go to the tenant Oneida Street and drive in there, they are in trouble. If we get a semi in there and they come this way, they might not be able to make that turn and back out, or they may not be able to back out all the way up to 52nd. So the sign does work well as a directional, pointing deliveries to 52nd and pointing the future tenant customers to go down Oneida to get to their tenant location. I don't know if it's been undecided if the uplighting will be done by the GC, but just in case it is needed down the road, it was part of the CSP presentation that is coming once we find out if the variances are approved. And it may be uplighted, but as Nathan mentioned, it is not internally illuminated, so there's no front light coming out the sign that would affect the neighbors living close. And then here, if you can do another shift control plus, there you go. This is where the sign will actually be. It is 10 feet from the property line. If we can blow up my bottom numbers there, Nathan. 10 feet from the curb. The property line back of the curb where the variance sign was is 2 feet 8. To meet code, we have to have a 7-foot 6-inch setback, and that's where the sign would sit right there. That is a 5-foot tall sign, or that's a 5 foot. From the top of that board to the bottom is 5 feet. The sign will be bigger than that. It'll be 12 feet tall with, if we can go back, let me do it. And then flip, yep. 1 foot 10 will cover the grade. Yeah, 1 foot 10 will cover the grade, so the sign itself will be 10 foot 2 at curb level or street level when the tenants come, at 10 foot 2. And so we feel it's an elegant sign. The architecture of this sign kind of matches what's in the front with the blue trim. We feel it's really needed for the functionality of the plaza to handle deliveries and to find tenant locations. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Are there any other parties to this applicant that would like to speak? Looks like that's it. All right, are there any questions for the applicant by the board? Go ahead, Board Member Fyway.
I do have a clarifying question for you, sir. On your drawing, I see that there's a number of notes of other signage that appear, and I just want to clarify. Can you go back to the site map, please? Oh, okay, never mind. Answer my question. The directional signs, I noted a bunch of signs on there. I wanted to make sure they're directional, not your monument signs.
The 14 individual tenant panels will just be their name on there, knowing that they found the right location at 5200 Oneida. The only arrows as far as directional is for deliveries and tenant customers going down Oneida.
And for the tenants, are they intended to be more industrial use? That's to make sure semis are, for the industrial use, are going the right way? Is that the main purpose of the sign?
That might be a better question for Owen.
Yeah, this property is zoned I-1, so we do anticipate a diverse mix of tenants, but certainly need to accommodate truck traffic and expect that. The 14 individual panels are for 14 unique tenants. This building has already been demised. I think a couple weeks ago, we bought 14 individual water taps. So we are anticipating that number of tenants at stabilization, but yes, primarily industrial use.
And then I do have a question for, if no one else has one, for staff before we open up to public comment, just a question. So I noticed that on the drawings where the proposed sign, it does say detention pond, and I just wanted to clarify to make sure that staff, that this sign is not going to impact any of the engineering requirements for the development of the detention pond.
Yep. The Engineering Review Division reviewed this variance, in particular the proposed sign location, and there are no comments or concerns from the Engineering Division regarding the proposed location.
Awesome, thank you. That's my questions for staff.
Any additional questions by the board? Yes, Mayor Douglas?
Thank you. This is to, be to you, Nathan. It's seeing the packet, these are not illuminated signs. They're going to be just no lights on the signs. It's just going to be standard. So basically, there's just hours of operations in the daytime, not in the evening. Is that the reason why no illumination on the lights?
So there is illumination. We call it uplighting, but it's external, and it's kind of that bottom bar that you see below main entrance. And it's a very subtle light that only shines on the sign.
Gotcha.
We did that for convenience or for the neighboring houses that were there. We didn't want to blast any or have any loud internal lights shining out on the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So it's just very subtle. It can be controlled by a photocell off and on, and if it has to turn off at 12, we can use some other kind of timer to do that.
Okay.
12 midnight for just an example.
All right.
We can, there's all kinds of options there for us.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any additional questions for the applicant? Questions? None? Okay, great. Okay. Do any members of the public wish to provide comments on this case? Appears none. Is there anyone attending virtually tonight?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I will now close the public hearing for this case. Is there any discussion from the board?
No.
No discussion? Great. Can I get a motion for this case?
Yes. I move that the Board of Adjustment enter a finding that requested variance for the property located at 52 Oneida Street contained in case AV 25-0007 meets the criteria of the Land Development Code based upon such findings, approve of the variance.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Mayor Douglas and a second by Board Member Fry White. Is there any discussion? No further?
I just want to make a comment that for the criteria AI, for me, why I seconded for this particular, I agree with Planner Chavez's analysis for the other criteria, but specifically for AI, that based on the testimony of the applicant, that the signage does meet extraordinary situations for the property, in particular for traffic enforcement, to make sure for traffic is safely navigating the area due to the tight driving around, and that's why I do agree that this meets our requirements.
Great, thank you. Any further discussion by the board? None? Okay, great. If we can please open the electronic voting. We've got 4 yeses, motion passes. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay. We'll move on to case AV 25-0013, Galloway and Company front yard setback increase. I will open the public hearing on this case. At the conclusion of both staff and applicant presentations, I will open the floor for any questions from the board. Once all questions have been asked, the public will have time for public comment. We will start with members of the public attending in person before moving on to those attending virtually. With that, I will ask Planner Nathan Chavez to please announce the case and introduce the applicant.
In case In case AV 25-0013, Galloway and Company Incorporated, on behalf of the property owner, 716 Eudora Drive LLC, is seeking variance approval to increase the maximum front yard setback from Elm Street from 75 feet to 160 feet. An 85-foot increase. The 2.31 acre property is located at 716 Eudora Drive and is zoned I-1 Light Intensity Industrial. Here, on behalf of the application, is Aaron McLean from Galloway and Company Incorporated, and then virtually it is Tara Limbach and Jenny Romano from Quick Trip. So as just stated, the applicant is seeking to increase to the maximum front yard setback from 75 feet to 160 feet, specifically from Elm Street. The applicant's ultimate goal is to develop the I-1 Light Intensity Industrial Zone site as a Quick Trip gas station, convenience center, and fuel station. There are 2 other applications under review, including a development plan for the actual site plan and development of the Quick Trip, and then a minor modification for an increase in sign height, and that's an administrative application. So the 2.31 acre site is located to the southeast of East 72nd Avenue and Highway 6, and is home to the old Ditch Witch of the Rockies site where the Red Star is. And then for those who are unfamiliar with that location, it is just to the south of the Santiagos on East 72nd Avenue. So during the review process for the site, staff determined that the property has two frontages, Eudora Drive on the western side and then Elm Street on the east, both of which have a maximum front yard setback requirement of 75 feet, meaning any new structure may be no further than 75 feet from each of the property frontages. And it may be a little bit difficult to see, but there are two blue lines on either side, one where my cursor is, and then another one where my cursor is. Those are the two 75-foot maximum front yard setbacks for both Elm Street and Eudora, to provide a little bit of context. And so where the primary building is proposed, where my cursor is at, the lot is 341 feet wide across, and at the northern end, the site is 289 feet across once you factor in where the setbacks are, the building setbacks, that is. And so once the 150 feet are factored in for both setbacks, that leaves 191 feet on the southern end and 139 feet on the northern end of the site where the building must occupy to meet both maximum front yard setbacks. And as proposed, the building is 111 feet wide. And so staff has received no written comments, phone calls, or emails regarding this application as of today. And then staff determined the application meets the approval criteria from section 21-3222.3 of the Land Development Code. Specifically, because the site is a larger double frontage lot, there is a situation where the strict enforcement of both maximum front yard setbacks would deprive the property privileges enjoyed by property owners of the same zoning district, which is the ability to front a new building closer to the primary roadways, such as US 85 or Highway 6, I believe. It's one of those two. I think they're the same thing, actually. So the hardship also stems from the location and size of the lot. The site is sandwiched between two public roads and must adhere to the LDC standard, which stipulates a 75-foot maximum front yard setback. In addition, it is the city's preference to locate the building closer to Eudora Drive and US 85 to meet the intent of the 2045 Comprehensive Plan and its framework maps. And specifically, the city's planning's policy and goal is to front brand new, great-looking buildings closer to streets because it creates a much better sense of community and feel and shows off the excellent work that developers are bringing in and the city's able to negotiate for with better architecture. Through the review process for the variance by the development review team, agencies which include both internal city reviews and external agencies, no adverse impact to adjacent properties were uncovered during that review process, and approval of the variance will allow the site to develop without the applicant having to make significant changes to their store model and in a location preferred by the city, which is closer to Eudora Drive. And then lastly, the character of the district, which consists of a wide variety of commercial services, light industrial, and business park uses, will not be changed, but strengthened. The variance will allow the site to develop as a convenience store with the building closer to Eudora Drive and US 85, our preferred location. And then adherence to this approval criteria is further strengthened by the 2045 comprehensive plan. Specifically, the economic development framework map designates the site as a commercial reinvestment, and then surrounding sites have similar designations or are designated as business and employment parks, so where the red dot is at. Within the character areas land use map, the site and surrounding sites are the Northern Business District, which is meant to play a key role to the city's employment base and consists of a wide variety of commercial services, light industrial, and business park uses. Commercial is listed as a secondary land use, which is meant to be less prevalent and serve to support the primary land use. And then within the US 85 Connected Corridor District, the site and surrounding sites are designated as industrial and commercial uses, where my cursor is at. And then staff recommends the Board of Adjustment approve AV 25-0013 based on the findings that the applications meet the approval criteria of the Land Development Code. Thank you so much for your time.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chavez, for the presentation. Are there any questions for staff by the board? Yes, Mr. Fryway?
Hello, Mr. Chavez. I had a quick question. So on the site plan, so you have the, thank you there. So you have that light blue line, it's the third one in from Eudora Street, and yeah, thank you for the public. So is this in particular, so you have noted in your report for criteria BI, and you say it does not meet it, the minimum need for the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure. Is it in particular to the building there could be on the south side, because you noted it could be on the north side? Can you just kind of go over your analysis there, please?
Of course, I had some difficulty hearing you, so if I don't answer your question directly, just let me know and I'll re-answer. During the review process, staff asked the applicant to look into moving the store closer to the north side, which has a smaller width where the building could fit. And upon providing that analysis, which includes the setback location and 75 feet, the building was still not wide enough to meet both front yard setbacks. And while an argument could be made that the building could be made larger, it's important to note that this Quick Trip, this company has model stores, and it can be difficult for them to create things that are larger, since it's outside of their normal models for the stores. And then two, the question comes up, is there really a need for a bigger store, and what type? There is a look at the materials that could be used for something that's not needed. Quite a bit of the city staff are LEED Green Associates, and so understanding the materials and where they come from and how much, the waste from materials, that's been weighing heavily on staff, or at least we include that in our analysis. And the answer to our question was, if a bigger store is not needed, why waste the materials to make a bigger store when the applicants don't want it, and it would just use precious materials for something that's not needed, if that makes sense, and if that was answering your original question.
Part of it, yes.
Okay.
And then for the variance in particular, it is for the building, the canopy, and the tanks, because they're all over, or is it just the whole setup? The parking lot, is that part of the variance requirement that we're assessing?
The variance is only for the primary structure.
Right, okay.
Correct,
Thank
correct. The canopy does not fall under there is no maximum front yard setback for the canopy, just the primary structure.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions by the board for staff? No questions? Yes. Board Member LaFell?
Nathan, I couldn't hear hardly any of that, to be honest with you, but I'm having trouble understanding why anybody would want to increase the setback requirement. What real purpose does that serve to make it greater? And I can't see those colors on that map very well either.
Yeah, of course. The primary purpose to increase this maximum front yard setback requirement is to allow the building to be closer to Eudora Drive, and it's staff's policy and goal to always front buildings closer to street frontages, primary street frontages. One, it's just a great planning practice to show off these beautiful buildings coming into our community. And then two, it creates what Jane Jacobs famously called eyes on the street, where you want new stores, windows, people utilizing the public roadway, which creates a better sense of community and a more livable, walkable community. In this instance, because there are two maximum front yard setbacks, either the applicant will need to build a at a minimum 191 foot wide building to meet both of them on the north side, which does not work with their circulation, or two, they could push the building closer to Eudora Drive or hypothetically Elm Street, but that would also trigger the need for that increase on the other side. So for example, if the building were meeting the 75-foot maximum on Elm Street, tonight we'd be hearing a variance for a increase to the setback from Eudora Drive. And the hardship comes from the fact that it's a large lot and there are two street frontages, and it is difficult to meet both of those maximum front yard setbacks of 75 feet.
That's a great question.
So you're saying that he has to make his building smaller in order to accomplish his purposes, and you're going to increase the setback to make that happen?
No, sir. There is no argument to make the building smaller. The argument is, with this setback, it's not a minimum setback. Like normally a 10-foot setback, anything must be at least 10 feet from the property line. In this instance, it's a maximum front yard setback, meaning that a building can be no further than 75 feet.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Okay, great. The applicant would like to present.
Hit that on button. Hi, I'm Aaron with Galloway. On virtual call is Tara Limbach with Quick Trip. She is going to do most of the presentation. I'm happy to help here with any specific questions you have. And also on the call is Jenny Romano. She's our civil PM with Galloway on the project.
Can you guys hear me okay? Are you guys able to hear me?
Did we get the slide deck too?
Tara, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Bear with us just a minute, guys.
Can you hear me now? Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me now?
Tara, can you try saying something, please?
It's on our end. Just a minute, Nathan. I'll let the applicant know.
You can't hear me?
so others virtually can hear Tara speak.
Yes, Tara, can you try speaking right now?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So sorry about that.
Yeah, and we can't see you visually, unfortunately, but we do have the presentation available, so just let us know when you need to move the slides.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Well, good evening. My name is Tara Limbach. I am the Quick Trip Real Estate Project Manager for this site, and I'm very excited. This is my second Commerce City site, and I've been working really closely with Nathan and staff on configuring this site. I'll keep this short, but I know some people probably are aware of Quick Trip, but I also wanted to kind of dive into some of the great things that make us more than a gas station. So kind of starting off, our purpose to provide opportunities for employees to grow and succeed. I'm an employee of 14 years and I've changed my title 7 times. So if it's a part-timer at 16 in high school who just want a job through high school, to continuing their education and working with us through college and getting tuition reimbursement, or if you're like myself and many others and you decide to make it a career, it's really a great opportunity for anyone and can be whatever you make of it. I have a slide with some fun facts on the next slide about Quick Trip. Really, the thing that excites me the most as I develop new sites is creating new jobs. As I already said, it's a great company to work for. Another great thing I love to share is that we contribute 5% of all of our profits every single year back to charitable organizations. You see us kind of out in the communities in which we work and live, giving back. The next slide kind of shows some examples of that. If there's any baseball fans in the room, you've probably seen the Quick Trip patch on the Kansas City Royals jersey for the last 2 seasons. A lot of people might think that that's just a corporation, you know, paying to put their logo on a team, but I love to share what it actually is. So it's a literacy program that we joined with the Kansas City Royals. So every single hit that the Royals had the entire season, Quick Trip would donate 10 books to local schools in the community. So with over 1,300 hits this past season, Quick Trip donated 13,000 books within the Kansas City Metro, which is pretty awesome. The next slide really just kind of shows what's inside of our store. So we really pride ourselves on giving great customer service, having clean facilities, offering innovative new design. So this is kind of a great shot, and some of the next few slides just really highlight what our stores look like. Most recently, we moved into really pushing into the food industry in the last 10 years. So fresh made to order food. We have an app, so you can be going on your break from work. The kids could be leaving school. You could put in an order on your phone. We'll bring it out to your car. So we really are more than a gas station and have really pushed the food industry. So not just seeing us as a fueling station, but a fast feeder option for those residential that are to the east. I think will be great for this area. Kind of moving on, there's a few more slides. There's some of our food offerings that we have. And then the next slide kind of shows some of what people talk about. I can't tell you how many communities I've gone to and proposed a Quick Trip, mainly just off of what social media and the hype that people want us in their communities. I think we've built a A-class reputation that, you know, if you're going to go to Quick Trip, that you're going to be taken care of. Then the last few slides are just of our site plan. So we were kind of talking about, Nathan, thank you for your presentation. I think the biggest thing with these slides and the reason for this variance request is simply because we don't produce a building that is as long as it would need to be to reach both frontages. The style store on this site plan is actually our latest and greatest. It's our generation 4. There's none of these built yet. The first one will be open in Tulsa here in the next few months. But this is the largest square foot store that we offer. The Generation 3 was about 1,000 square feet smaller than this one. So this is our biggest building that we've come up with. We've worked really hard reconfiguring it and following staff's recommendation to put it as close to Eudora as we possibly can. We feel like this provides the best site circulation, both for customers traveling by foot, customers by car, as well as, you know, being considerate of delivery drivers and needing to drop product off, and being able to circulate this non-standard shape of site. So we're really excited to invest in Commerce City, more than willing to answer questions and clarify this request if there's still some unknowns. But thank you for your time.
Great, thank you. And I believe Jenny was on as well. Did Jenny want to present at all?
She might be muted. I don't believe so. She wasn't going to present, but she can also help answer any of the technical criteria as our civil PM.
Great, thank you. Okay, any questions for the applicant by the board?
No question.
Douglas?
Thank you. Question is, I see the setback, when you're wanted to increase it 150 feet from 75. What about large trucks coming in for delivery of fuel? Those are pretty big rigs. Think we have enough space?
Sure, your question on truck circulation, and that played a lot into how it is situated now, and being in the southwest corner of the site. I know that it was, realized that there is some, availability up north, but if you look at where the tanker trucks are and how the trucks circulate through the site, this is a version of the delivery trucks, I believe, and then seeing how the tankers on the north side circulate through the property is pretty critical to their operations. They have to have certain clearances under the canopy as well, and keeping that width, or the width of the drive aisles, if you will. So that's why it was, even more situated this manner.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Any additional questions from the board? None? Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, all right. Do we have any members of the public that wish to provide any comments on this case? Doesn't appear as we do. Okay. Great. Is there anyone attending virtually tonight?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Okay. At this time, I will now close the public hearing for this case. Is there any discussion from the board? Yes. Member Fryway?
So I just wanted to comment to my fellow board members. One of my thoughts is on particular, so out of the 3 criteria, there's 3, section B1. So all the other criteria I do agree with our staff members. For B1, it asks, and I know it's one or the other, but I just want to, my thoughts are that the variance granted is the minimum needed for the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure. And because of, there are 2 front setbacks, I do believe for the applicant, in my opinion, the reasonable size of the building that they're proposing, I do find reasonable for the use, and the rationale for this second front yard setback. And so I do think, in my opinion, that if we do approve this, that should be considered to be criteria that is met. And so if there's no other discussion, I'd be open to making a motion.
We do have Member LaFell who'd like to discuss.
I did have one question, probably come to you, Nathan.
So we.
I don't know who's driven down Elm Street lately, but it's pretty highly unimproved, like a dirt road, for instance. Is there going to be something taking care of that dirt road in this project?
Yes, sir. and this answer is twofold. It's still being negotiated with the applicant. Firstly, with the development plan, which is the site layout and architecture, the applicant is working on a development agreement to have Elm Street, their half of Elm Street paved, all those right-of-way improvements paved, including curb, gutter, and sidewalk. And there's also a capital improvement plan for Elm Street to have that paved as well. So our engineering team and public works department are working with the applicant through the development review process to determine the cost of that, who will improve it, how it will be improved, and then come to a legally binding agreement on that. And our city attorney's office also reviews that document before anything is signed. But certainly staff is looking at having half of Elm Street in front of the property owner, or in front of the property improved, and then also the applicant has expressed some interest in paving Elm Street from the northern property line up to East 72nd Avenue. But those are all still in negotiations and nothing is set in stone yet. However, approval of the development plan is very highly contingent on the development agreement and those Elm Street improvements. So staff is certainly looking at the improvements of Elm Street and having that paved.
Well, I think that street would certainly benefit from improvements. You know, Greg Clements wanted to do that 15 years ago, and they never got around to it to today. I wonder, would that improvement going to be done before he opens his store?
Yeah, and just a quick, since we had closed the hearing, do we need to reopen this hearing so we can continue this conversation?
Yeah, I would recommend reopening the hearing if there's additional questions for staff or the applicant.
Okay, I'll go ahead and reopen this hearing for further discussion. Questions of staff?
Okay, so my question basically comes down to is, are they going to fix that road before they put a ton of more traffic on it? Because that road is bad.
That is fully the city's intent. However, I believe the applicant should also respond to that question as well.
Yeah, and certainly Tara and Jenny chime in, but the requirement as part of this development is to improve one half of Elm Street. So that's the western half of the development. That's what we are designing to, is what that capital improvement plan that Nathan referenced is already designed and approved. The funding, our understanding, is not yet secured, but we're going to enter into Quick Trip will enter into a development agreement with the city to provide those either fees in lieu or that type of improvement. So yes, to your point in question, we will be improving from the southern boundary of Elm to the north up to 72nd.
Okay, so you're only going to really do it just up to the end of your property there on the heading south out of your place?
Yeah, typically the obligations
nobody-
are just for your frontages, but in this instance, it doesn't make sense to stop pavement for a gap between, well, basically in front of Santiago's there, going into, between 72nd and the property line. So it's going to continue up to 72nd to tie in.
That's great, but what about when the guy makes a right turn and heads south out of there, down towards Fairfax?
We would defer to the city and their capital improvement plan and the timing of that and the need.
Okay.
Would you like me to answer that, Gene?
Yes, Nathan.
Yeah, of course. One of the great benefits of development of property is, per our land development code, I believe applicants are responsible for right-of-way improvements along their property frontage. And so as new development comes in, new development plans, staff is always seeking for right-of-way improvements to particular roads or right-of-way that front, such as this property with Elm Street.
So the other businesses that are along that Elm Street further south, they're not going to be required to do anything because of this? You got that car auction guy up there, he's new. You got Stockyards up there, he's been there forever, and none of them ever improved one thing on that road.
I cannot speak for certain about previous sites and the specifics, but at this point in time, unless those particular properties are submitting applications for improvements on their personal property, there would be no contribution from those properties to improve Elm Street. But certainly it's on staff's radar, and if applications do come through, Those are one of the first comments. And in addition, we have a capital improvement plan for Elm Street. It's just a matter of acquiring funding and the priority of Elm Street.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. No further questions.
No further questions? Any other questions by the rest of the board or staff? Okay. All right, so at this time, I will now close the public hearing for this case. Any discussion from the board before we move on to the motion?
I will make a motion. And if I have my sheet. I make a motion to approve VSP 20, AV 25-13, as it meets the requirements of the Land Development Code, and I recommend for its approval.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Board Member Fryway and a second by Mayor Douglas. Is there any discussion? Board? Yes.
For my approval, just to clarify for that section 3(2), I do believe that it does meet that requirement in addition to B2. And so my approval is based on it meeting both of those sections.
And Board Member, are you comfortable with adding to your motion that this is for 7160 Eudora Drive for case AV 250013?
Yes, I accept that friendly amendment.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll second that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just as a reminder from the procedural standpoint, there's 4 members sitting today to approve a variance. It requires the vote of 4 members of the Board of Adjustments, so it would require the unanimous support of those sitting here today.
Thank you. And if we can open the electronic voting, please. Okay, so we do have 4 yeses. It is unanimous. The motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to case AV 25-0010, Joseph Rubio Carport Setback Reduction. This case needs to be continued to February 10th, Board of Adjustment meeting. I will ask Planning Manager Heather Vidlock to please announce this case.
Thank you, Chair. Case number AV 25-0010, Joseph Rubio is seeking variance approval to reduce an attached carport setback from the front facade of the home from 5 feet to 1 feet, a 4-foot reduction. The .04 acre property is located at 6388 East 78th Avenue and is zoned PUD. The applicant is requesting that the public hearing be continued to the next regular meeting of the Board of Adjustments scheduled for February 10th, 2026. The applicant is requesting this continuance for additional time to address sign posting requirements.
Great. Thank you. Can I get a motion to continue this case to February 10th, Board of Adjustment meeting?
I make a motion to continue this case until our next the date as listed by Planner Vidlock.
Do you want to state the property address?
For AV 25-10 at 6388 East 78th Avenue.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a motion by Board Member Fryway and a second by Mayor Douglas. Is there any discussion, Board? Nope, no discussion. Okay, let's go ahead and please open the electronic voting.
Board Member Leffel, can you cast your vote?
We've got 4 yeses, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, moving on, is there any board business to discuss at this time?
Yes, we have bylaws, yeah.
Yes. Any discussion regarding those? I'd like to-
I thought we were open, yeah. Did you want to
Do you want us to
introduce?
do a motion? We can
Yeah,
motion?
I was just, the red line and the clean version of the rules of procedure should be in your packet. So if the board decides to adopt them, yeah, we would just ask for a motion to approve the revisions.
Great, thank you.
I did have, in our last discussion, I wasn't here at our last meeting, so I do apologize. So I don't believe we actually talked about the bylaws. But we did talk previously about, because we do not meet quite regularly, and I was wondering if at least quarterly or at least twice a year that our board have scheduled meetings for our training, just kind of review to make sure that we're up to date on any land development code changes by our city attorney, or just make sure that we're all up to date on rules and procedures or any changes that are going on in the planning world or in state law that may impact us. And that way we have at least one meeting per quarter so that if there's no meetings in January, February, we have one in March to just a training. And I was wondering if we could put that in our bylaws.
It's certainly something that could be added to the bylaws if the board desires to add that requirement. I think Ms. Vidlac had mentioned that this is something that could be done outside of the bylaws as well. So I think with the direction, how the board wants to handle trainings or required meetings, we can certainly look to do that as well, to not, impose a requirement, through the rules of procedure. I do think we've had issues sometimes getting a quorum for the board, so that, presents a potential roadblock to meeting on a regular basis or quarterly basis if the members aren't available to vote or to meet.
Okay.
Maybe perhaps after our next meeting, if we have our alternate, we could maybe have a discussion and see how things go. And
That sounds fine. I'm fine with not including them in the bylaws. I just think it's good practice if we have not met within the quarter to at least at the end of the quarter have one meeting, just so that we are up to date. Because if we could go a whole year, and when I first got here, my understanding is we hadn't met in a whole year. I think you mentioned that when I first got here a year ago. And it was a very interesting meeting because, oh yeah, what are our order and procedures? And hence why we started talking about the bylaws. And I just think it's good practice to keep us sharp. So, but I'm fine with all the amendments as presented. So if there are no comments, I can make a motion.
I have a comment or a question.
yes,
So I had a question. Would this be something we add into the bylaws? I know like tonight, we had a pretty large packet here. We started at 6. I got here, I thought we had started at 5:30, but it is 6, and I appreciate that clarification. Do we put in the bylaws that this board should get fed? Or is there something we can do outside of this? For the record.
That's something I would need to talk with city attorney and the city manager's office. I don't know offhand the policy on, I know city council's fed before the meetings. I don't know, other boards aren't, and I don't know if there's a policy in place.
Yes, other boards are. It's the EPAC, Environmental Protection, not Environmental Protection. Yeah, most of the boards, they do have, they do feed the members. Because there are 6 o'clock meetings, come straight from work. And just, I think this is the only one that doesn't provide food for their, and it's just a request.
Yeah, no, it's certainly something we could look into. I think it's probably more of a city function, administrative function, than something in the rules of procedure, but certainly something that we could look into to
Yeah.
see what that process would be.
Thank you. And they don't have to be I mean, part of the bylaws. I just wanted to state that.
We don't currently have the budget for that in our department, so it could have to be a budget amendment. And we also don't feed planning commission. So planning commission does not get food.
How are they
All right.
supposed to think with that empty stomach, man?
Thank you for clarification.
I make a motion to, if there's no other comments, I make a motion to approve the zoning board of adjustment rules of procedure as presented.
Can you get a second?
So move.
Great. We have a motion by Board Member Fryway and a second by Mayor Douglas. Is there any discussion, board? Nope.
Do we have a date for that,
A date for what?
for the continuance?
February 10th.
Next, February 9th, 10th?
10th.
10th, February 10th.
All right. It wasn't on here, so thank you.
Okay. No further discussion. If we can open the electronic voting. We've got 4 yeses, motion passes. Thank you. Is there any other attorney business to discuss at this time?
I had a board question before, sorry to cut
Yep,
you
no
off.
other attorney business, but open for questions.
So, being here a year, and I'm just curious from my colleagues and from staff. So the variance requirements, I find them like they change all the time, depending on what case we're looking at. And I was wondering if our board were to send a recommendation to the planning commission to please look at the variance requirements to streamline them, so there's one set of rules for almost everything to make it, make it easier. The county has 8 variance requirements that we go through. In my career, most variance requirements are very straightforward for any variance with clean criteria. There are some for like special use permits that may come to a board of adjustment. And so I was wondering if our board, if we were to vote to ask the planning commission to take that topic up or to consider it, if that would be applicable.
So we did just adopt the new 2025 Land Development Code, and that includes the variance criteria. If you do want to have a change to the variance criteria, we'd probably like to work on that at the staff level first. We can look at some other cities' codes and compare them to ours. Ours are pretty straightforward in terms of what other cities have. We have a pretty high bar in that you have to meet all the criteria except the last one, which is an either or. Some jurisdictions only say that you have to meet one or 2 of the criteria. But if you want us to take a deeper dive into that, we can have a study session with the board. And ultimately, the board could make a recommendation. Both Planning Commission and City Council have to review changes to the Land Development Code, and council has to approve that change.
So for our next meeting in February, because the new code is going into effect, and as you just mentioned, some of the variance requirements may have changed, I think it would be prudent for us to be made aware of those changes that we are then making decisions on, and because it is our purview to be aware of those.
Yeah, and the variance that will be heard in February will still be under the 2009 LDC Land Development Code. So the standards that you've applied on the previous variance cases will continue in effect.
When does the Land Development Code go into effect?
It will go fully into effect once the city is rezoned. So the city's going through a legislative rezoning process to essentially bring properties into that code. So there'll be either a legislative rezoning, and any rezoning that a property moves forward with voluntarily or through an application would be rezoned into the new property, or into the new zoning code.
Okay. But, yeah, I think a training
Yep.
at our next meeting would be prudent before that even goes into effect.
Yep.
Thank you. That's all my comments tonight.
Thank you. Any staff business to discuss at this time?
Just that we are kicking off our discussions with Planning Commission and City Council about the legislative zoning that Attorney Schaefer just mentioned. And we will be doing lots of public outreach with that legislative zoning and communicating with the development community, with the public, with property owners, with business owners, so that they're fully aware of what's going on with the zoning. And no other updates, thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, so the time is now 7:46 PM and the regular meeting is adjourned.